modern cider really is riding on the hip of the craft beer movement. It's almost like a revival of something that was once, once upon a time, 200 years ago, cider would have been a much more prevalent drink in particularly the eastern states of America anyway. And I think what we're doing now is really just part of the revival of cider as it comes through, but also cider in England, Australia, New Zealand, countries that I'm a little bit more familiar with in Europe, it represents quite a much higher percentage of the volume of beer. Here, when we first started, it was 0.8 of 1% of the volume of beer. Now it's nearly 2. It's about 1.9 or something. It's nearly 2, so it's doubled since the time we've started. And Australia and New Zealand, it's about 5% the volume of beer. So I see no reason why America won't, over the next 3 or 4 years, gradually rise to where cider is perhaps 4 to 5% of the volume of beer. So this is the main engine room, as it were, of Bold Rock. The juice is, we normally just heat it a fraction and add an enzyme which drops out all the pectin and clears the must. So from there it goes into another one of these tanks where we inoculate it with a champagne yeast, and we finish fermentation in about 7 days. From apple to finished product leaving here would be about 18 days. I think it's very important that we keep the freshness, and I think that's what it's all about. You have good quality apples, it's nice to have, to be able to turn that over. Well, I guess cider's been part of my life for, 20-something years. I keep losing count because every year you get a year older. But I started making cider in New Zealand because I had an apple orchard, and also my family are involved in growing grapes and various things. So once I had an apple orchard, looking at how to make alcohol from apples became a natural thing. So over a period of years I developed quite a large cidery in New Zealand, and then one day a gentleman rang me on the phone and said, I'm an American. And I said, yeah, well, fine, tell me more. And he explained that he'd bought a farm in Virginia something like 27 years ago. It's a beautiful piece of land, absolutely gorgeous, with a river running through it and wooded all around. And he was going to retire there, and all around him microbreweries and wineries had spread. And he just said, well, I Googled you and I wondered whether you'd be interested in making cider in America. And after 2 or 3 visits, and we checked off what we were doing, one day we drove down the road, went over a hill, we got out of the car, shook hands, and then all we had to do was name the company. So we founded Bold Rock. I think it was 2011 I uprooted myself from New Zealand and came to live in Virginia. Really thought that we could make 8 or 9,000 cases of cider in our first year, and we made something like 105,000 cases and had to expand. And then we happened upon the wonderful apple resource, as it were, here in the Hendersonville area, and that brought us down here. Because of the elevation and the topography of the land and the fertile, the valleys, the mountains in and around here, I think some of the apples grown around here are some of the best in the world.
These apples were picked yesterday afternoon. They're here now. For hard cider, you can't get any fresher, and this is straight. This is farm to the, it came from my farm to this plant going into the bottle. And when I wanted that apple, I took it out of the box, I wiped it off on my shirt, and I ate it, and I had no problem giving it to you because I know what we do and I know they're safe. 50 years ago, my grandparents made cider. I remember as a little kid pressing on just a little hand crank press, just like they got right up there. And they always used 3 or 4 different varieties, a couple sweet and a couple tarts. And that's what I always try to send over here is 3 or 4, even 5 different varieties. So when they get all this pressed, it gets up in the tanks. Then you got that same kind of quality that they looked for 50 years ago in a hand press. And I'd love to think that we are in some way replicating what happened then now.
The local districts have just sort of wrapped their arms around us. I guess we're providing them with entertainment, a really good product to drink, and we're employing people. And I think we just enjoy being good corporate citizens, I guess, within the communities that we're part of. And I think it's a holistic thing, really. And I think if you have a good relationship with the local community, you do a lot better in business, and it gives us the strength actually to sort of to go further and to make more things happen. There's a lot of job satisfaction in crafting something, producing something, and then you go into a bar somewhere that you've never ever been to before, and you look around and you hear happy voices, people just quietly sitting there chatting, drinking, laughing, and you realize they're drinking the products that you've made. And that to me, that's tremendous. Gives you a lot of a good purpose. You feel what business am I in? I'm in the happiness business, and it's really quite good. When I look back from it's amazing to think of all the different skills that are needed. You've got to 1, enjoy it, 2, have passion, and 3, you learn a lot of skills that you didn't think you had to have. We have people in marketing, people in running festivals, we have people in sales, we have engineers, we have food technologists. When you start, you're doing all of that without realizing it, and then as you grow and get bigger and your company gets bigger, then you have to be more specialized. And if you don't have I don't think there's anybody that's got all the skills to be able to do all that. So you have to trust people and employ good staff and good people, and if you have good staff and good people, you have a good company. Most of our staff, if you talk to them, they share the passion and the drive to succeed, and the passion to produce a product. Once you cease to have that, then it's time to move on.